Jared leaned against the break room counter, stirring creamer into his coffee, and said it the way people say things they don't expect to land. Must be nice being broke like the rest of us. He was talking about the vending machine raising its prices again. It was a throwaway line, the kind of joke coworkers make 8 times a week and forget by lunch. I laughed along with him. I meant it too, the way you laugh at something that happens to be true. The night before, at 11:40, I'd been sitting on my couch in the same hoodie I'd worn all week, refreshing a brokerage app on a phone with a crack running corner to corner. The number on the screen read $1,004,000. I didn't tell anyone, not Jared, not my sister, not the person standing 3 feet from me in that break room, laughing about being broke while I quietly agreed with him. That was 6 years ago. I'm still not sure most people would have caught it, even standing right next to me. Here are the 9 signs they missed. No inheritance, no lottery ticket, no crypto trade that happened to hit at the right hour. What actually happened is almost insultingly boring. 14 years of ordinary paychecks, most of it going into low-cost index funds, the contribution raised whenever a raise allowed it, then left alone to compound while I lived like someone with a much smaller number. This isn't investment advice, and it isn't a brag. It's what 6 years of hiding a boring number does to a person, told as honestly as I can manage, including the parts that still make me uncomfortable to say out loud. 9 signs. All 9 happened while I looked, by every visible measure, exactly like everyone else standing at that vending machine. Sign 1. The car that never got replaced. The car in my parking spot was a 2009 Civic with 190,000 miles on it, a dent in the rear bumper I never fixed, and a water pump that failed on a Tuesday and cost $600 to replace. A coworker from the floor above, a guy named Marcus, offered to send me a listing from his cousin's dealership. Nice guy. 0% financing, he said, like it was a gift. I told him I'd think about it. I never called. A car payment on something respectable runs about $450 a month, $5,400 a year. Over the 6 years since that Tuesday on my couch, that's roughly $32,000 I never financed. Money that went into index funds instead of a loan. And today, grown, it's closer to $45,000. Nobody suspects the 7-figure portfolio behind a car with a check engine light still on. That's the entire mechanism. The uncomfortable part was never hiding the money. It was watching Marcus feel sorry for me over a decision I'd made on purpose, and letting him keep feeling that way. Sign 2, the phone I refused to replace. Ever wonder why some people carry a phone with a screen cracked corner to corner years past when everyone else upgrades? Mine was the same phone from the night the number read 1 million on my couch, 4 years running, held together with a case and stubbornness. Coworkers offered their old phones. My sister, May, offered to just buy me a new one for my birthday. I told her I was fine. I was fine. Skipping the upgrade cycle is worth about $500 a year. Once you count the trade-in you never get and the plan you never talk yourself into. Over 6 years, that's $3,000 that went into a brokerage account instead of a phone store, and at an ordinary rate of growth, it's closer to $3,800 now. $3,800 isn't the number that changes a life. It's the number that reveals a pattern. That spending, for me, had quietly stopped being about whether I could afford something. It became about whether it was worth it. Almost nothing was. Sign 3, I always changed the subject. Every time salary came up at lunch, I redirected it inside about 4 seconds, and I got good enough at it that nobody ever noticed the redirect, only the conversation in front of them. The year Jared and I both got our reviews, he came back from his meeting with a raise of $2,300 and told the whole break room. I nodded, said congrats, and told him mine was fine, nothing exciting. That part was true. What I didn't say was that my portfolio, sitting there doing nothing, had made about $80,000 that same year, more than 30 times what either of us had actually negotiated for. Redirecting a money conversation costs nothing and takes about 4 seconds, and it works every time because most people are relieved not to compare numbers either. The uncomfortable part wasn't the math. It was watching a friend celebrate a number that was a rounding error against mine and matching his energy instead of correcting the picture he had of me. Sign 4, the trip I said I couldn't afford. Dana texted the group chat about a long weekend in Charleston. 4 of us splitting a rental, flights, the whole thing, my share landing at $1,400. I wrote back, can't swing it right now, maybe next time, and put my phone down before anyone could offer to help cover me, which was the part I actually couldn't have handled. Not the money, the conversation about the money. My portfolio, at its ordinary average pace that spring, was making around $1,500 in an ordinary 5-day week. I skipped a trip over an amount smaller than what showed up in my account while I slept. I can't afford it, and it's not worth it to me, sound identical from across a group chat. Only one of them was true, and I let everyone believe the other one because the real sentence, I don't want to explain where my money actually is, was harder to type than a lie. Sign 5, fewer clothes than someone making half my salary. Here's the part that never made sense from the outside. The person with the healthiest retirement account in the building was also the worst dressed person in it. My whole wardrobe for a year cost about $180. Thrifted flannel, the same 3 pairs of jeans, sneakers I re-glued instead of replacing. My sister May used to hold up a shirt at a thrift store, squint at it, and ask if I was doing okay financially. I always laughed and said money was tight that month. That same year I maxed a Roth IRA, $7,000 the full limit, moved in before the deadline without missing a payment on anything else. Less spent on clothing in 12 months than most people spend in one, funneled straight into an account nobody but me could see. May's question wasn't wrong. Money genuinely was the reason for the flannel. She just had the direction backwards, and I let her keep believing it. That's 5. The next 4 are the ones that made hiding it feel less like discipline and more like something close to loneliness. If any of the last 5 hit closer than you expected, subscribe. This channel keeps finding the specific checkable signs, not the vague ones everyone already knows. Sign 6, the apartment I never left. 9 years in the same 1-bedroom, $1,150 a month. The kind of building where the elevator sticks every July. My landlord, Tom, raised the rent $40 that spring, and I paid it without a word, the way you pay a bill you've already decided isn't worth a conversation. I could have bought a house. A decent one nearby ran around $420,000, and I had the down payment sitting in cash the whole time. I didn't, partly for the math. Renting instead of owning saved roughly $9,000 a year once you count taxes, maintenance, and the thing that breaks the week after you sign, and partly because a house is a paper trail. Neighbors notice moving trucks. Buyers get congratulated at parties. Staying invisible was worth more to me than square footage. Tom still thinks I renewed because I couldn't afford to move. I let him keep thinking it and put the $9,000 somewhere it could actually grow. Sign 7, the stranger's dog and the friend's fundraiser. Would you believe the same person can cover a stranger's vet bill and still say no to a coworker collecting for a friend's rent in the same week for the same reason? A woman 2 tables over at a coffee shop got a call about her dog needing emergency surgery. I paid the $340 deposit at the counter before she made it back to her seat and left before she could ask who did it. 4 days later, a coworker passed around an envelope for someone's rent. I said I was tight that month and didn't put anything in. The stranger's bill was anonymous, so it cost me nothing socially. The coworker's envelope had my name attached to whatever I gave, in front of people who'd remember the number and start doing quiet math about me. I picked the version that protected the secret over the version that actually helped someone I knew, and I've never fully made peace with that trade. Sign 8, I turned down a free hour with a financial advisor. A coworker's husband did fee-only financial planning and offered me a free consult. No pitch, just an hour of looking at my accounts and telling me honestly if I was on track. I told him I was all set. I was not all set in the way that sentence implied. I was avoiding a room where a stranger would see the actual number, ask where it came from, and know things about me that Jared and Marcus and everyone at that lunch table didn't. That hour would have cost nothing, and probably would have been useful. I turned it down the same way I turned down 3 other reasonable offers that year because usefulness wasn't the variable I was optimizing for. Privacy was, even at a real cost, a second opinion I never got, on money I'd been managing alone for 14 years by then. Hiding it wasn't free. It had a price, and the price was every conversation I avoided that might have actually helped. Sign 9, someone finally asked and I lied. At a coworker's birthday thing, half joking, someone I barely knew looked at my thrifted flannel and my cracked phone and asked if I was secretly rich or something. The room laughed. I laughed too and said something about wishing. The real number that night, if I'd said it out loud instead, was $2,100,000. 14 years of the same boring index funds, 6 of them spent actively hiding a milestone I'd already crossed, sitting 3 feet from a birthday cake, denying it to someone who'd guessed correctly by accident. That's the sign that finally bothered me. Not the money. The reflex. How fast and how easily the lie came out. Faster than the truth ever could have after 6 years of practice. Remember Jared and the vending machine joke and the coffee I laughed along with that morning? A year after the birthday party, my sister May called scared about a medical bill she couldn't cover. My first instinct, even then, was to offer to help her find a payment plan. The deflection, running on autopilot one more time. I stopped myself mid-sentence and told her the truth instead. All of it. The $1 Million Tuesday, the thrifted flannel, Tom's rent increase, the 14 years of boring index funds nobody had ever heard about. May was quiet for a long moment, and then she just said, "So you're going to pay this, obviously," and we both actually laughed for the first time about any of it. That's the only sign nobody could have caught, because it didn't happen where anyone was watching. The day hiding it stopped being worth more to me than one honest phone call. If you've spent years being the person everyone assumes is doing just fine, nothing special, that's not a character flaw. It's a decision that made sense at the time, right up until it quietly stops making sense. I'm working on saying it out loud more than once a year. Tell me in the comments which sign you would have caught, and drop the next confession topic below. I'm not done with this list. I only ran out of time.